Here it came. Thank God. Even if there is a God, thank God for this. I had seen so much rotten wrestling from all these companies. I was about to give up, and it was redeemed in one segment. Like Mussolini! Being serious. He came out with a game face, a no-nonsense entrance. After MJF's promo last week, the question on CM Punk's mind was, am I the bad guy? Now, I'm going to pick at one thing here at the start, and then I'm not going to pick about anything else about this because it was fabulous. But we had to sit through 30 minutes of that goddamn stinky battle royal. They couldn't have taken 2 minutes off of that and done a package to refresh the comments that Maxwell Jacob Friedman made the previous week. For anybody that missed it, or anybody that just might need a little reinforcement, not the whole segment, just the pithy parts. They used to throw quarters at me. I believed in you. You left me. That type of thing. They could have done that and then brought Punk out, but again, inexperienced television formatters. So Punk says, until a week ago, I was sure that MJF was the bad guy. But what MJF did took courage. I didn't think he had it in him. But am I being gaslit? And he looked Punk. He looks at the camera. There's close-ups. You see sincerity, the eyes. This is not prearranged material given to him by someone you can believe he is saying this. It's a talent. The delivery of that. It's called being a good television personality. He believes what he's saying, and he makes you believe it too. And he said, I believe those things happened to MJF, but I'm not sure about his sincerity. There's a picture of me with Steve Austin. But when Stone Cold Steve Austin went home, it didn't make me do bad things. But MJF attacked Dean Malenko, who has Parkinson's disease, verbally buried Brian Pillman Sr. in his hometown in front of his son and family, said awful things about Darby Allin's dead uncle. And Punk says, I found out one thing is true. Hurt people hurt people. That's fucking brilliant. All these idiots that and this fucking House of the Knights of the Thrones of the Black fucking whatevers trying to be all spooky and deep and mysterious. They get overly dramatic and gaga and you don't believe any shit and it's just written down stuff people are saying. But when you get a guy that can tell a story like this and then just break it down to hurt people hurt people. That's the motivation. That's the supervillain's backstory. That's what happened to Mr. Glass in Unbreakable. Blah, blah, blah. This guy was hurt, so now he wants to hurt other people. Am I Dr. Frankenstein and he's the monster? So he calls MJF out. He said, I want to talk to you. But then he stopped talking and then he started pacing. And he paced on live television for a kind of an uncomfortable length of time, and there was no music. Because if it wasn't set up and everybody wasn't waiting for their cue, it would take MJF a while to get up from the monitor where he's listening to his fucking adversary and come out there to confront him. And they gave it enough time where it wasn't just next scene. And here comes MJF, no microphone, no music. And Punk says, I used to be you. I used to be full of hate. I poured alcohol down an alcoholic's throat, et cetera, all the things he done. But too much hate will burn you up. And now it's not about you or me. It's about an 11-year-old kid out there looking up to you like you looked up to me. And what effect are you going to have on him? And Punk ends up finished up. He says, am I the good guy? I sure am trying. And sticks his hand out to MJF. And there's the look and there's the pause and the milk. And MJF comes in with the hug. In Punk's face, and he won't hug him. He's like, he's got his arms spread out there and looking like this fucking guy. What? And then finally, just long enough, he's okay, I'll go for it. And he gives him the hug and he pats him on the head. And MJF backs up with that lip quivering and kicks Punk square in the fucking nuts. And he drops like a rock. That was brilliant on everybody's part. The timing and the delivery and the whole 9 yards. Then MJF gets on Punk and gives him that heat seeker pile driver, and that got a pop. And he pulls off the jacket, and there's the picture of him and Punk on his T-shirt. Here comes Wardlow and Spears. And MJF gets the diamond ring and nails Punk. By the way, did you hear as soon as he nails him, what was happening, Brian?
What do you mean?
What was happening as soon as he nailed him with that ring? The bell started ringing. Stop this. Ding, ding, ding. And then Punk comes up bleeding. FTR comes out. Here comes security. Security's running out and trying to stop it. They are attacking the biggest star in our company. We've got to do something. And the bell's ringing again. Ding, ding, ding. And FTR is knocking off security, blocking them off. Again, I will give a little bit of a tip. When you're sending the security or the minions to it's always better if they get to the ring, but not necessarily in it. Instead of stopping them at the entranceway, it creates a better picture of chaos around the ring if FTR and the other heels get right in the ring and are at the ropes, and as people try to come into and down to the ring, they're playing King of the Hill, knocking them off the apron, won't let them get in. It's easier to see all the action at one point at that time. I'm picking at nits here, but this was so good. A little fine-tuning. Then they get the dog collar. And they're hanging Punk with the dog collar, and he's drenched in blood, and they're ringing the bell, and security has been dispatched, and the heels are in charge. Here was some fucking chaos. And then MJF gets the microphone right in his face, and Punk can't see, and he's bleeding, and his eyes are bugged out, and he's coughing or whatever the fuck. You stupid old man. The greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing people he didn't exist. I'm the devil. Which I think, was that an old Punk promo from somewhere?
Oh, maybe, and I don't know. That would be an interesting
I think
callback.
it was.
Yeah.
Anyway, so at that point, they now string him up, and they start pulling the chain, and they're hanging Punk. And goddamn it, they should have widened back up. He's twisting on the apron, but if they could have got a wide shot, where there's a way you can do this without killing the man, where his feet could have been off the ground while he's hanging from the chain, that would have been great. But otherwise, here comes Darby Allin, Sammy Guevara, and Sting, the top baby faces. They hit the ring and make a save, and the heels powder, and the save got a big pop. When's the last time you heard a save get a pop? If they do one, it always happens after everything's over with, and they haven't built up the chaos, the urgency, the jeopardy. As soon as people saw Darby and the gang, yay! Now, as good as this was, just imagine for a second if you didn't see blood on TV all the time with AEW. If you didn't see angle after angle in every segment all the time with every company. If this was not only perfectly done like it was here, but unusual. And didn't happen multiple times in a segment where there's just these ridiculously long beatdowns and heat segments and etc. just over and over. Imagine what kind of impact this would have had, and then realize that's the kind of impact that Angles had before we got to this point where everything has been so overdone. That's why people in the crowd would lose themselves and try to get over the rail to help. That's why tickets would be sold for the event, or pay-per-views would be bought for the event that this issue is going to culminate in, because it would register with people because they didn't see it all the time. And it was not only well done, but unusual. We have to imagine that now because we don't live in that world anymore. That's why most of the time, even these things, even the ones that are well done, they don't work because it's not different. But this was the best segment, again, of the entire week of any wrestling promotion. Your thoughts?
This has been the best feud in professional wrestling since it began. And whenever people hear us criticize some of the wrestling they may like, some of the younger stuff, some of the high-flying stuff, and they'll say, well, it just seems like you guys don't like anything. Wrestling's moved on from what you like. You just have to accept it. I point to something like this. This is exactly what I think wrestling should be now. And we're about to go to a pay-per-view, and I'm excited to see this match. They've built it up. There's meaning behind it. It's not a throwaway match. Every single thing they've done on TV has meant something and continued the build. This is the best feud in wrestling. This is the smartest feud in wrestling. This is an example, and I've said it a while back when it came to things when AEW does it right, and it's modern-day Mid-South wrestling like this.
Yeah.
It pisses me off more when I see some of the other stuff on the show. Because this is exactly the tone of what the competitor to WWE should have.
Yes. Not phony, not showbiz,
right.
Not predetermined, prearranged, not fixed, not a performance. That is because the WWE has that all locked up, and apparently a lot of people don't want to see that. Not like they ever did. It's just more apparent than ever before now. And this could be, as you said, modern-day Mid-South wrestling, a violent alternative. It doesn't always have to be violence. And I just said don't overdo it. Somebody's going to say, well, you can't do that all the time. You just said that. No, use this tone. Use this execution. Everything is logical. Everything's believable. The people that say things, what they say, they appear to mean. The matches appear to be important. They don't appear to be cooperating with each other and winking at their friends while they have fun doing cool moves.
Hey, do you remember how MJF turned on Cody?
Goddamn, it's been a long time, but basically, Cody had taken MJF as his protege, even though he was a heel. Cody saw something in him, and everybody else was trying to warn him, but too late. MJF's true colors came out along those lines, something of that nature.
He threw in the towel, cost him the match with Jericho, which meant he could never get a AEW World Title match again, but he got in the ring. They embraced him and the Hurt Cody, and then he gave Cody a shot to the nuts. So I like that. It's a throwback to his last betrayal, and I think that's brilliant too.
Ain't that a kick in the nuts? There you go. That's MJF's thing.
This is the best feud in the history of AEW, and when it comes to this pay-per-view, you have a world title match. You have the three-way tag team title match. Make no mistake, this is the main event of that pay-per-view. This is the one match I can't wait to see.
Well, we're going to get to their world title match in a minute and the lack of promotion or interest or anything in it. But yeah, I can see people, especially the ex-WWE fans in the audience, want to see Moxley against Danielson. But, I mean, has there ever been a major world title match in a major company on pay-per-view that has any less interest than this one? And the tag team title match is just the interchangeable trampoline cowboy match that they always have. It's not going to be anything different, not appreciably better or worse, depending on whether you like that kind of thing, as all the other matches they do, because it'll be the same thing. So, yeah, Punk and MJF, they ought to have points in this pay-per-view, because if it does well, it's almost all them.
Yeah, and, there goes to my discussion before about the tone. Take personal feelings and everything aside. Just look at it objectively. The stuff with the Bucks and Red Dragon and the Bucks and Cole, which ties into Cole and Page. Look at that tone versus the tone of everything with Punk and MJF. Everything is serious. Everything at times is evil. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, it feels like one thing, and then on the other side, it's a bunch of guys just playing. I mean, that's really what it seems like. When, hey, Brandon, turn on the camera. Okay, so we're going back into the comedy portion of the show, where they're going to do a bunch of comedy routines that suck. That's the problem. You know, like I said, send half the people to Ring of Honor. Now that you have that option, that's like Australia. Send everyone to Ring of Honor right now. And just make one of the promotions the serious tone that wrestling needs. This angle, this feud, and I'm sure this match coming up are exactly what wrestling can be right now.